जय ओम विष्णुपाद परमहंस परिव्राजकाचार्य अष्टोत्तर श्री श्री His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada ki jai. ISKCON Samstapakacharya Savior of the whole world, Jagat Guru Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai. Nitai Gaur Premanande ki jai. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayanam Namaskritya Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayam Mudiraye Nashtaprayeshu Bhadreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavati Uttama Shloke Bhaktir Bhavati Naishtike. Reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 9, Chapter 19, King Ayati achieves liberation. Text number 5 and 6. We will chant the 5th verse together, and then I will chant by myself the 6th verse. Sotirya Kupat Sushroni. Actually, there's a mistake here. It should be Kupat. Well means Kupat. Sotirya Kupat Sushroni. Sotirya Kupat Sushroni. Kameva Chakame Kila. Kameva Chakame Kila. Tameva Chakame Kila. Taya Vritam Samudvikshya. Taya Vritam Samudvikshya. Taya Vritam Samudvikshya. Bhakyo Ajaha Kanta Kaminihi. Bhakyo Jakanta Kaminihi. Bhakyo Jakanta Kaminihi. Sotirya Kupat Sushroni. Kameva Chakame Kila. Taya Vritam Samudvikshya. Bhakyo Jakanta Kaminihi. Sotirya Kupat Sushroni. Tameva Chakame Kila. Taya Vritam Samudvikshya. Bhakyo Jakanta Kamini. Sotirya Kupat Sushroni. Tameva Chakame Kila. Taya Vritam Samudvikshya. Bhavyo Jakanta Kamini. Sotirya Kupat Sushroni. तमेव चकमे किल तयावृतं समुद्वीक्ष्य भव्यो जाकान्तकामिनी कूपात् शुश्रोणि तमेव चकमे किल तयावृतं समुद्वीक्ष्य भव्यो जाकान्तकामिनी सा the she goat Uttirya getting out Kupat from the well Sustroni possessing very nice hips Tam unto the he goat Eva indeed Chakame desire to get as her husband desire to get as her husband Kila indeed Taya by her Vritam accepted Samudviksha seeing Bhakyaha many others Ajaha she goats Kantakaminihi desiring to get the he goat as their husband. So the translation of two verses is given together. Just I'll read the 6th verse by myself and then we'll decide the translation. 6th verse. Pivanam shmashrulam preshtam midvamsam yabhako vidam sa eko javrushas tasam bhakvinam rativardhanaha reme kama grahagrasta atmanam navabudhyata. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. Translation. When the she-goat, who had very nice hips, got out of the well and saw the very handsome he-goat, she desired to accept him as her husband. When she did so, many other she-goats also desired him as their husband because he had a very beautiful bodily structure and a nice mustache and beard and was expert in discharging semen and in the art of sexual intercourse. Therefore, just as a person haunted by a ghost exhibits madness, the best of the he-goats, attracted by the many she-goats, engaged in erotic activities and naturally forgot his real business of self-realization. Please repeat the translation after me. When the she-goat, who had very nice hips, got out of the well and saw the very handsome he-goat, she desired to accept him as her husband. When she did so, many other she-goats also desired him as their husband because he had a very beautiful bodily structure and a nice mustache and beard and was expert in discharging semen and in the art of sexual intercourse. Therefore, just as a person haunted by a ghost exhibits madness, the best of the he-goats, attracted by the many she-goats, engaged in erotic activities and naturally forgot his real business of self-realization. Purport by Srila Prabhupada. Materialists are certainly very much attracted by sexual intercourse. Yan maithunadi grihamedi sukham hi tucham. Although one becomes a grihastha or householder to enjoy sex life to his heart's content, one is never satisfied. Such a lusty materialist is like a goat, for it is said that if goats meant for slaughter get the opportunity, they enjoy sex before being killed. Human beings, however, are meant for self-realization. Tapo divyam putraka yena sattvam shuddhyet yasmad brahma saukhyam tu anantam. Human life is meant for self-realization. Human life is meant for realization of the self, the spiritual soul within the body. Dehinosmin yatha dehe. A materialistic rascal does not know that he is not the body, but a spiritual soul within the body. However, one should understand his real position and cultivate knowledge by which to get free from bodily entanglement. Like an unfortunate person who acts madly, haunted by ghosts, a materialist haunted by the ghost of lust forgets his real business so that he can enjoy so-called happiness in the bodily concept of life. Thus ends the Bhakti Vedanta purport. Om Ajnanatimmirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Nama Om Vishnupadaya Krishna Presthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swaminiti Namine Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Desha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Srivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Very strong words that is spoken in the Bhagavatam. It is shocking sometimes to new people, the uninformed, that why Bhagavatam has to discuss all such things, erotic activities, expert in discharging semen, art of sexual intercourse. Why Bhagavatam has to discuss all this? Simply talk about God. That's enough. All this is not meant for spiritualists. All this is not meant for us who are devotees, who are not interested in the materialistic way of life. We've given up everything and come here. Why we have to bother with all such things? So the message of the Bhagavatam is Vedyam Vastam Vastavam Atra Vastu. Bhagavatam is meant for helping us distinguish reality, Vastavam, from illusion. This material world is a place where there is illusion. Everywhere you go in the material world, the material energy is working, creating an illusion that we think we belong here, we think we are the body, and we think we are meant for enjoying the bodily senses. And our whole life is simply wasted in this business of sense enjoyment. And a very valuable opportunity of self-realization is lost, which is not easily available. Why do we say not easily available? Because in all other species of life, there's only one business, sense enjoyment. The other creatures, they don't have developed intelligence to understand that there is a higher purpose to our existence in this material world, a higher purpose than sense enjoyment. It's the nature of sense enjoyment in this material world that it is never going to satisfy us completely. This is elaborately described in the Bhagavad Gita in many places. Yehi samsparshaja bhoga dukkha yonaya evate. The pleasure available by sense contact with sense objects. Samsparshaja bhoga. Bhoga means enjoyment. Samsparshaja means that which arises out of sense contact. So such enjoyment is dukkha yoni. It is the source of unlimited miseries. Unlimited miseries. And that's what the Bhagavatam is pointing out also in the examples given of the life of such personalities, King Yayati. So how was it possible for King Yayati, who was completely entangled, almost completely entangled in family affairs, to get out of it and achieve ultimately liberation from material bondage? This is very illustrative and instructive. And in the words of Yayati, Bhagavatam is describing how Yayati actually realized his mistake, how he got caught up in illusion, and how he came out of it. So Yayati is describing to his chaste wife, Devayani, that his realization, what he has got after trying to enjoy for 1000 years. They lived in a different yuga, so their time scale was different. Their lifespan was of the order of thousands of years. In Kali Yuga, we have only 100 years in this human form of life. But in the earlier ages, they had a longer lifespan. And it is simply relative to time, lifespan. Even we see around us, so many different creatures have different lifespan. So like that, even in the human form of life, in different yugas, different lifespans. So Yayati had a facility to enjoy 1000 years, this family life. And he tried to satisfy his lusty desires, but he failed in trying to do so. And then he got a realization when he became disgusted with this business of satisfying lust. Then he became enlightened, and he is describing his enlightenment to his chaste wife, Devayani. And it is described further, Devayani also became enlightened, and she also became liberated. So this is the whole program. The human form of life is meant for utilizing our developed intelligence for the higher purpose of self-realization. Because in this human form of life, we have an opportunity to try to enjoy sense gratification like the other creatures. And when we fail to get the desired satisfaction and the happiness, tushyanti cha ramanti cha. Bhagavad Gita describes everyone is after some satisfaction and some happiness. That is true. But the transcendentalists, the happiness and the satisfaction they get is unlimited by spiritual practice, by spiritual activities. And the materialists, whatever little tuchha, very, very insignificant amount of happiness and satisfaction they get is never going to be completely satisfying and will never be the amount of happiness they are seeking. What is the comparison? In the Vaishnava literature, one Vaishnava poet, Vidyapati, he has described material happiness is compared to a drop of water in a ocean, in a desert. In a desert, certainly there is scarcity of water. And where water is scarce, frequently it happens that people start looking for water when they become thirsty. And when such a thirsty person who's extremely thirsty because of being in the desert and not finding water, if he finds water, somebody tells, yeah, I have got water. Please give me, I'm very thirsty. Oh, I'll give you. I have only one drop of water. What use is that one drop? Similarly, the material happiness that we can get by sense contact, by sense pleasures, by sense activities are equivalent to one drop of water that is available for a thirsty person in a desert where he is looking for an ocean of water. So where is that ocean of happiness available that we are looking for? It is only available in spiritual life, in spiritual activities, in association with Krishna. The central point of the Bhagavatam is, in material life, in material existence, we are actually missing Krishna. We are almost completely forgetful of Krishna, our topmost well-wisher, our eternal friend, our eternal well-wisher. We are missing him and we are searching for that lost love, lost happiness, lost opportunity in our relationship with all other people of this world. All the other people, they can only give, if at all, they give us some happiness or some satisfaction, they can give only one drop, while we are looking for an ocean of happiness. So therefore, the Bhagavatam instructs us in practical ways. See the condition of Yayati. The reason why this is being narrated by Shukadeva Goswami to Parikshit Maharaj is to enlighten Parikshit Maharaj and all of us that you don't have to go through this and then realize. After trying and trying and trying, you may or may not realize, I am trying for something which is impossible. I am trying for something which I'll never get, however hard I try. Don't be a donkey. Become wise, become intelligent. You got the human form of body. You got human brain. You can understand this simply by hearing, simply by reading, simply by coming in touch with this literature, this special literature. What applies to Yayati applies to everyone in this material world. Only such incidents are described here, which is universal, universally applicable for everyone. Though the circumstances of each person may be different. Yayati was a king. Somebody else may be a business person. Somebody else may be a Brahmana, a teacher, or a priest. So our occupations may be different, our material circumstances may be different, but within each one of us is spirit soul. And as spirit soul, we have got our specific characteristics which is common to everyone. We are all part and parcel of Krishna. Our nature is spiritual like Krishna's nature. We are meant to seek happiness, not seek, be happy naturally in our original relationship of love with Krishna. That is what the Bhagavatam is teaching us. So having forgotten Krishna, we have come to this material world, and in this material existence, in ignorance, we are identifying ourselves with this material body, and we are seeking material happiness through material relationships in so many different ways in our relationship with different people. And we are always hopeful. Every time we fail to get the desired happiness, there's always the allurement of Maya that we can try some other way, we can try some other person, we can try some other avenue of happiness. So Maya is expert in giving us so many different ideas, so many different opportunities, so many different promises, so many different types of hope. But it is, as the Bhagavatam describes, Durashaya. It is a hopeless hope. It's a hope which will never be fulfilled, it will never be satisfied. So give up this hopeless pursuit of material happiness. Come to spiritual happiness in association with Krishna. So here the description is that naturally there is attraction between male and female in every species, and that's true for human beings also. So man is looking for a woman and woman is looking for a man, and simply hoping that in such association each one can get the happiness or the satisfaction they are seeking. But it so happens that in the history of humankind, Bhagavatam narrates historical incidents which are millions, billions, trillions of years old. It has never been observed that even one person in the billions of years has become satisfied by material pursuit, has become completely happy by material pursuit. Not even one case. And as regards spiritual happiness and spiritual satisfaction, every transcendentalist who has attempted to get happiness and satisfaction by spiritual life has been completely successful. Not even one case of failure. And materially, not even one case of success. That is what is Bhagavatam. And there are enough examples in the Bhagavatam of both kinds. Success spiritually, failure materially. And we should be wise enough to take lessons from the Bhagavatam and very easily understand this with a sober mind, calm mind. And then we can appreciate that we don't have to pursue material happiness. We should give up this business of material happiness and intelligently pursue spiritual happiness. And it's not difficult. Fortunately for us, the spiritual method that is suggested for our present situation, in Kali Yuga is, it is very difficult to follow the practices that people formerly used to follow, meditation or fire sacrifice or temple worship. All these are very difficult practices in Kali Yuga. So Kali Yuga, the simple, easy practice of chanting Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. By such chanting, our mind becomes calm and peaceful. Our intelligence becomes sharpened, and our body becomes sober. Our senses become sober, and we can understand with a cool head What is the reality? Bhagavatam will point out the reality distinguished from illusion. Distinguished from illusion. Illusion is when you look at a person, you consider a person to be the body. As much as we consider ourselves as the body that we are inhabiting, we also see other people the same way. But Bhagavatam says, no, this is illusion which makes you believe and think and see the people in this world as the body and not the spirit soul within. So by chanting Hare Krishna, this understanding actually becomes realized. Realized means you are able to experience the reality of this truth. Not just philosophically, not just theoretically, but it translates into a life transforming experience. Our entire life changes when we chant Hare Krishna and become realized, and then our life changes. We no longer will be pursuing material happiness, having become wise and intelligent by the instructions of the Bhagavad Gita and Bhagavatam, but we will simply pursue spiritual happiness. And spiritual happiness is very much satisfying even in our stage of practice. Just like in the beginning, even though chanting Hare Krishna may not be very pleasurable, very quickly those who practice according to the rules and regulations will begin to develop some taste for such chanting. And what is the proof? That there are devotees who have been chanting Hare Krishna for 30 years, 40 years, 50 years, 20 years. How is it possible that these devotees continue to chant the same mantra every day so many times and they never get bored? They never get tired? It never becomes hackneyed? How is it possible? That is because this chanting Hare Krishna is not an ordinary sound. It is a spiritual sound. And that spiritual sound very quickly clears our misconceptions in our heart and helps us to taste the real spiritual pleasure. To begin with, there is little taste. But very soon, if we continue to practice properly, this chanting becomes so relishable that every other material pleasure will pale into insignificance. All other material pleasures will become distasteful. In the Bhagavad Gita, this is described as param drishtva nivartate. We lose the taste for material sense pleasures and we begin to relish higher pleasures of the spiritual kind, like chanting Hare Krishna, like tasting prasadam instead of just eating ordinary food, tasting prasadam and relishing that much, much more than the ordinary food. Like that, every aspect of spiritual life is much, much more relishable than the corresponding material activity. So, that is the invitation of the Bhagavatam. That you hear Bhagavatam or you study Bhagavatam and you become knowledgeable and wise and you understand with a sober mind what is the truth of this material existence. Don't get cheated by illusory presentation of Maya, but become wise and give up this illusion and come out of this material entanglement. And that's what is going to happen to Yayati, as we shall see in the later parts of this chapter. I'll stop here. Grantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai.